Maybe it's the time alone, like on our walk, that I need to let myself recover and rest my brain. Thinking more today about my own thoughts, and for some reason, I felt deeply saddened for about 5 to 10 minutes when we were in the park. Ollie must have known. He came running with his slow arthritic waddle straight back to me and stayed by my side, licking my hand every few steps. They say man's best friend. At the moment, my best friend. He doesn't confuse me, tell me what's best for me, or question me, but he'll just be with me, by my side, ready for a hug when we both need it. Welcome to Walks with Sam, the podcast by the same name from the published book with me, the author and your host, Gordon Campbell. Walks with Sam discusses the burning question, do you really understand mental illness? We'll be discussing the journey into and through mental health illnesses and talking openly about real-life lived experience to raise awareness for all who want to better understand when we are victims and when we're being warriors. We know how important mental health awareness is, so you can show your support for free by sharing this podcast and the book with your own support groups, leaving a review on the book on Amazon or Kindle, subscribing to the podcast, or if you'd like to support the unpaid work that we do and you do find it valuable, please do purchase your own copy or gift a copy to others in your life who you think would also benefit. It's an emotional journey ahead, so we will keep it lighthearted, and please do bear in mind that there will be references that may be triggering to some. So please do stop and come back in as you feel necessary. Enjoy the journey, and let's take a walk with Sam. Hello, and welcome to our podcast Walks with Sam, a discussion beyond the book. Today we are discussing and looking into details on abuse. So today we're looking to explore the different types of abuse and offer advice on how to reach out to others who may be able to help or who are also experiencing abuse in their lives. We hear in today's chapters from Walks with Sam during Donna's story that abuse has played a pivotal role in the deterioration of her mental health journey. Abuse comes in many forms, and it can have a devastating impact on the lives of those who experience it. It is important to recognise the signs of abuse and know how to support someone who may be going through a difficult time. There are several types of abuse, including physical, emotional, verbal, sexual, financial, and psychological abuse. Each of these forms of abuse can have a unique set of challenges and effects on the victim. Physical abuse involves the use of physical force against a person, resulting in injury or harm. And this type of abuse can be visible through things like bruises, cuts, or other injuries. It is important to seek help immediately if you suspect someone is being physically abused. Emotional abuse is another common form of abuse that can be found difficult to recognise. This type of abuse involves behaviours that undermine a person's self-esteem and confidence. It can include verbal insults, threats, or even manipulation. Verbal abuse is similar to emotional abuse, but specifically involves the use of hurtful words or language. This is used to control or degrade someone. This type of abuse can be traumatizing, and it can have a long-lasting effect on the victim's mental health. Sexual abuse involves unwanted sexual contact or advances that makes a person feel uncomfortable or violated. It is important to speak up about sexual abuse and seek support from trusted individuals and organizations. Financial abuse is a form of abuse that involves controlling a person's finances or resources. This can include withholding money or access to their bank accounts, making it difficult for the victim to leave an abuse situation. Psychological abuse is a form of abuse that manipulates a person's thoughts, emotions, and behaviours. This type of abuse can be subtle and difficult to recognise, but can have a profound impact on the victim's mental health. If you or someone you know is experiencing any form of abuse, it is important to reach out for help. There are many resources available, including hotlines, support groups, and shelters. They can provide assistance and professional guidance. Our first chapter for today is Sam's journal. Sam's journal, Sunday, 6th of June. 12:47 p.m. I woke up really tired again this morning. I think it might be these pills that Dr. Baxter has given me. I spent about 20 minutes talking to Nick about bits and bobs. Can't really remember much of our chat. Something about his costume for the show? He left for his rehearsal at 9:45 a.m. and I took Ollie to the park for his walkies. Our walkies. Although I woke up feeling fuzzy-headed, I do think as the days are going on I am beginning to be more aware of when I'm feeling more like myself. A normality about my days, having the ability to separate the blurriness from the clarity, is becoming more prominent. Just this morning alone on our walk seemed to have matched any normality I felt through the entirety of yesterday. Maybe it's the time alone, like on our walk, that I need to let myself recover and rest my brain. Thinking more today about my own thoughts, and for some reason, I felt deeply saddened for about 5 to 10 minutes when we were in the park. Ollie must have known. He came running with his slow arthritic waddle straight back to me and stayed by my side, licking my hand every few steps. They say man's best friend. At the moment, my best friend. He doesn't confuse me, tell me what's best for me, or question me, but he'll just be with me, by my side, ready for a hug when we both need it. Love him. I seem to be able to differentiate between the feelings of sadness I've had and the pure emptiness I've had up till now. I don't like it. My sister and niece are coming over soon to see me today. The weather is nice and I've never been so aware of how nice and peaceful it is to sit in my own back garden. 11:35 p.m. I had a lovely afternoon in the garden with Sarah and Katie. I made a picnic which kept me occupied before they arrived, distracting me from the tension I was feeling. We also had some barbecued sausages once they got here. It took some serious concentration to get everything ready in time. But I did it in small sections. I was thinking about a self-discipline book that I read a few years ago. It says it helps to break overwhelming tasks down into segments. An orange is made up of segments. You never swallow the whole orange, you eat one segment at a time. So in the spirit of that thought, I decided, do one thing at a time. Anything that doesn't get done will get done eventually. It's important to focus on only one thing, to get it done and then move on. And that's what I did. I had a great chat over our picnic in the garden with Sarah. We spoke about depression and how I've been getting on with it since seeing the doctor. Sarah has been dealing with depression on many levels since we were kids. I remember our mum taking her to the health centre to see the doctor regularly. I was never told what was going on with her until I was a teenager. By then, she was about 14 to 15 years old and had a better understanding of what had been going on with her illness. I, on the other hand, only had a reference point of what I'd experienced living with her as she suffered it. 13-year-old me opening the door of the bathroom with great force to find Sarah slumped over in a heap, blood pouring from her wrists, wondering what on earth I'd walked into. Was this something that girls do, growing up as the only male in the house, and wondering if this is what they meant when they said women's problems. I'd help her to wrap herself up with tissues and plasters each time she'd do it, and we'd never really speak about it. I was so scared that we'd get into trouble, not understanding the concept of depression at all, even until a few months ago when I started to feel like doing the same. Today, we spoke about the comparisons and what we'd gone through, and she really helped me to try and understand this whole situation a bit better. It put a lot of what I'd seen from a young age into context, and it even helped me to understand her situation better too. I can't believe she's the first person I've seen since this started who I know that suffers with depression. I've spent tonight in front of the telly with Ollie, not really focusing on anything, but just watching. I don't think I've been too sad tonight after such an open conversation and cry about everything with Sarah. It's difficult to spend the night alone in the house, but now the work is finished, it's really good to have the new patio doors. When they're opened, I feel less confined. But after today's sunshine, there's also a lovely smell of summer air breezing in from outside. I don't have much feelings tonight about anything really. Monday, 7th of June, 11:30 a.m. I think I woke up around 10 a.m. and I'm so tired today. The heaviness around my head and eyes is quite prominent. I feel so empty inside. A complete lack of enthusiasm for anything or emotions about things that have been going on. I knew I would have the entirety of today by myself. I was thinking it would be somewhat relaxing, but now I actually think it's going to be quite difficult to spend all this time on my own. I'll trim the hedges and then do my walk in the park today. 7:45 p.m. Today has been a bit of a numb day for me. I wasn't really aware that I was doing anything today as I trimmed the hedge on autopilot and my brain capacity seemed to be at nil. Even walking in the park was on autopilot. I had more of a pointless stroll along the dry, dusty pathways, an empty headspace with no focus on any particular parts of my life or feelings. Was I even really there? Has my brain given up on trying? I was definitely looking up, around more during the walk, so my awareness seems to be heightened, which is definitely something, I guess. I'm also more aware of how I feel like myself when I'm with Ollie in the park rather than in other areas of my life when I'm doing tasks or with other people. My days are going so long, and not necessarily in a bad way, though because they're so long I feel the emptiness in my body just as much as in my head. I have a sickness in my stomach, like a sense of guilt from having a day on my own. I hate feeling like this, but I have to allow myself to accept the time off in order to clarify what's happening and actually take this time to understand my situation more. The medication has me feeling so relaxed. I just want to sleep every time I sit down. I wonder if this is what they mean in films when they sedate the crazy person so they can't take control of themselves. I cannot be out of my body for much longer. I feel so helpless. Tonight I'll be at Nick's parents for dinner. I still don't particularly want to be around anyone, but I do know that it's got to be better for me than spending too much time on my own. I'm slightly nervous about visiting, but I don't know if they're trying to support me in the best way. 12:15 a.m. Once I got settled at dinner, I felt more like myself and normal, and the rest of the evening was quite clear. We had some food, watched a few television documentaries, which I didn't really speak through, and not very much conversation was prompted either. I wonder if Nick had told them how crowded and confused I'd felt on Saturday. Maybe they took that into account. Either way, I expected to feel more drained by tonight in comparison to the visit to the caravan on Saturday. There was an expectation of becoming too emotional and feeling judged as I did in the caravan, but no, I was much more comfortable tonight. I feel okay about today. Indifferent, but okay. Bed. Tuesday, 8th of June. 12:30 p.m. Another 10 a.m. rise today. I woke much easier with a deep sense of dread and horridness about the day ahead. Very miserable feelings today. And as I looked outside from opening my eyes, rain. Then it hit me, the sounds of the raindrops hitting the newly double-paned glass, bouncing from the newly secured window fittings on the ledges and sending sound waves through my ears like a hot knife through butter. Smooth and soothing. I did lay there for a while, gazing at the window with a deep focus on the raindrops gliding down the glass. With the weather today being so horrible, piggybacking on my deepened misery, I don't feel like I can go outside at all today. I will. I have to. My emotions today are that of dread, physically feeling sick with no appetite or happiness at all. Everything that has to be done today will be an extended effort from just breathing. I know I should go swimming, as recommended by Dr. Baxter. The best things you can do for depression are swimming and walking in the park. But my body just feels far too weak to even get there in the first place. 7:30 p.m. I rang the swimming pool earlier but missed the closing time, so it's not open again until tomorrow. I'm so useless. I went to B&Q this afternoon to buy some plants. I did some gardening in the rain, which was quite reassuring, to feel myself stepping out of my comfort zone and allowing myself to not be held back by something that might normally stop me from gardening. After all, it's only rain. Water. Acid water. Huh? The feeling of becoming more and more wet and succumbing to the elements kind of recreated an initial euphoria of stepping out of control and letting nature do its thing, and just allowing it to happen around me. Then it stopped, so I managed to get more planting done than expected I would. Turned out to be less of an effort than I thought it would be, but it's all a little bit of a blur now that I'm done with it. I must have been lost in the task and empty-headed as usual. I don't seem to be able to recall very much. I still feel sickly and have no appetite at all. There are a couple of chicken breasts in the oven, but just the thought of eating them is making me want to spew. I haven't eaten at all today, so it's for the best to get some food in my stomach. 11:50 p.m. I've spent this evening with Ollie and the TV, my new best friends. With these guys, I can just be without worrying about pretending or trying too much. I've been blank all night, but I can't respond to my tiredness. I sit here feeling empty, and before I know it, hours have passed in the blink of an eye. Today has been a better day than I thought it was going to be. Dealing with this emptiness inside is easier today, getting used to it more and accepting it. I still don't understand it, I just really want to gain back my own control again, doing everyday tasks without the feeling that everything is such a chore when it's been done. I feel so physically exhausted now, so tired. End chapter. It can be difficult to know how to approach someone who may be experiencing abuse, but it is important to listen, validate their feelings, and offer support. Here are some tips on how to reach out to someone who may be in an abusive situation. First, trust your instincts and express your concerns in a non-judgmental way. Let the person know that you're there to listen and support them. Encourage the person to talk about their feelings and experiences. Assure them that they are not alone and that help is available. Provide some information about local resources such as hotlines or shelters or counselling services. They can offer support and guidance. Offer to accompany the person to seek help or to make a safety plan. It's important to prioritise their safety and well-being. Be patient and understanding. It may take time for that person to open up about their experience and seek help. Continue to offer that support and encouragement. Remember, it's not your job to rescue the person from an abusive situation. It's important to respect their autonomy, empower them to make their own decisions. If you're unsure how to help, consider reaching out to a trained professional or organisation for guidance on how to support someone who may be experiencing abuse. Abuse is a serious issue that affects millions of people around the world. By raising awareness and offering support to those who are experiencing abuse, we can create a safer and more compassionate society for all. Next chapter, Donna's story, When the Broken Breaks. When the Broken Breaks. Donna, 35 years old. As a child, trying to live a happy and healthy childhood was not as easy as some may imagine. The innocence of playing in the streets to the laughter of going to the friends at parties and being destroyed behind closed doors. I'm not sure exactly when it started, but abuse became part of my name, and as my bones continued to grow, my body began to break. The abuse and violence was the start of my depression growing up. As a child, you don't know that. You don't understand how one bruise, enough times in different areas, can go much deeper than into the skin. It pierces your blood flow, it dampens your veins, and without realizing it, you become numb, both inside and out. I didn't get any professional help until later in life, when it was more of a necessity to do so. Something I had no choice with and no opportunity to become resilient to what happened. I was raped. I had to go, and I had to see the counsellor. Opening up and facing my emotions had many positives, but it also put me in a position where all my emotions, fears, pain, and inner ghosts could surface where once they had been buried deep. Since the counsellor, there have been many times that I've tried to take my own life, numb the pain again, and escape the ghosts for good. Other times when I was so numb I was barely alive. I even used to self-harm just to feel something. I didn't know when I would ever feel anything again, and if I was to feel something again in my life, would it just be all my pain coming back to get me? There was no way to know. In my day-to-day life, social events get to me and activate my mental health issues all the time. I always feel like I'm not good enough for anyone who wants to be with me, or I shouldn't be spending time in the same place as them. I think that no one actually wants me there, and they probably only invited me to be polite or because someone else had suggested it. It makes me severely uncomfortable and paranoid. It cripples me before I even have the chance to leave my home, the one place where I should feel safe. Because I always feel like this, it means I don't really trust people, and I'm looking over my shoulder constantly, as if they're against me, and then I feel like they don't get me, the way I actually am, or my heavy feelings of depression. It's not always unhappy. Sometimes there are, and I know there are people who will just stop and listen to what I have to say, even if they don't fully understand what I'm going through in my daily life. Just having someone listen helps me so much, and in time they also understand me from a deeper place, when I just want to be alone and I'm not capable of being around them or others. Sometimes with my depression, I just want time on my own, so I can clear my darker thoughts and find a clear focus on the good feelings, the ones that I need to keep myself alive. It's never because I hate people, I just need to sort my head. My life is so much easier with the people who just let me be myself and are open-minded enough to try and understand that it is so hard to be this sad and having such heavy thoughts of not being here or alive anymore. Especially when you have a great life and you know you have a great life, but then your brain breaks a little bit for a little while and doesn't see it anymore. The biggest thing I'll ever ask of anyone is to just be here and sit with me. Support me by being there so that I can just hug them. Sometimes in silence, sometimes to just talk to them about anything. That's all. For everything else, I have a list of registered professionals who know how to help me be better in my way. End Donna's story. Thank you for listening to Walks with Sam podcast today, and remember, you are not alone. Help is available. You can find additional support on the NHS website, www.nhs.uk. Thank you all for tuning in, and we hope you found today's information helpful. To support the podcast, please do share it with others and subscribe. You can also like each episode and review the book on Amazon and share the book with others for free on Kindle Unlimited, or gift a paperback copy to those who you feel may benefit also. We appreciate the support for our unpaid work that we do to raise awareness. To one and all, stay safe and please take care.